to still come through us for that approval, and that's not gonna be an approvable use, because then they would be modifying the conditional use approval already in place. Does that make sense?
I guess,
Figure that out.
yeah, I guess think that plays to the vagueness of what we have here as well, like that it can't really be defined, like how many members determines a church. And that to me, it's like you were saying that they can meet all the specs that are black and white, but that's a lot of gray as far as I'm concerned. And we, that's just something to be concerned, and the spirit and these other words that are supposed to be considered, they're gray, they're subjective, they're not black and white, and they're, it's hard to define what is the spirit of a community. But, I mean, I think that's why I think we object in terms of they can put up a building that you can check this, check that, this amount, but then when we're considering the feeling of this and how we object to it and the vagueness of it in terms of what is a church, will it be used by other people, how, who's gonna police that, that kind of thing. I guess to me, those are all things to really consider when you make your decision.
Well, just to, if I may, just to put your mind at ease, so when we look at a tenant, it doesn't matter who it is, whether it's a church or an office or a retail, there's a process, there's a review process. And it's a challenging job to make sure that the correct tenant is going in that space and that the applicant isn't deceitful, right? So we have checks in place. So for example, something as simple as a letter of intent, and this we require for all new tenants. The letter of intent states who they are, what their business is, their hours of operation, the number of employees, and so on. So if I get a call from one of the residents in this community and they say, hey, I think they're running a different business out of there, we're gonna review it. We're gonna go and check out the place and knock on the door and go in and talk to whoever we can and make that determination. But it's all based on that review process, and it's all based on what's submitted to us through an application process, which is what we require. So to say there's gonna be retail in there, I can tell you there will not be retail. To say the church is gonna sell some crosses they have to their parishioners, well, that may happen, but it's not designated as a retail church. So I had to take the applicant for what they've presented. That's all I can do. I don't have any conceived notions, they're gonna go this way or that way. I look at the application, it says church, that's what I believe is gonna go in. For
Yes, sir.
for them.
Sir, what is your name?
Vincent Lives. I mean, to me, it seems like there's no prohibition to try health using this parking lot extensively. I haven't heard anything that would prohibit that. And I think, I can only speak for myself, but I think other people have a concern about that. Not whether it's a church or not a church, but it's a parking lot. And the most specific thing about this plan is that it's a parking lot, and it's very detailed. The church, that's very vague. And that parking lot is in direct proximity to TriHealth. And I think that some people are concerned that it's going to be used by TriHealth on an extensive basis. Is there anything that would prohibit that? So if not, then this isn't just a church, it's a mixed-use parking lot. And that's a concern that I have, and I don't know if anybody can address that.
Can I interrupt?
Yes, sir.
First of all, I thought we closed the comments. But
No, we haven't closed the public comments yet.
we lost the TriHealth battle. We lost. It's over. Quit talking about it. We're not bringing it up. Please. We lost. We concede. We're building a church. We did away with the sidewalks. There's an 8-foot-tall berm with trees in between that and TriHealth. We're not gonna ask people to traipse through the berm to get to TriHealth. It's over.
Why would you want to build a church? What motivates you? Wait a minute, I think, I wanna give everybody a chance to make their comments about things we haven't talked about, but all of those, some of those things we've addressed already, so I hate to keep reiterating the same topic, okay? Because we've talked about that. Is there a new, is there anybody who hasn't had a chance to speak their piece? Someone raised their hand there. And then, if you have another comment to make, I'll be glad to hear that. Yes, ma'am.
He says.
You wanna come up and tell us?
I can't, I'm handicapped, so I'm gonna stay here.
Have you been sworn in then, ma'am?
Yes. You said.
What is your name?
Oh, Jenny Bird, and I live at 6455 West Oak. You say you're gonna not build a wall, but you fully intend to use this as a parking lot. I don't know that you have a confirmation, I don't believe you do. This is just a scam to get the parking lot. And, so you say you don't wanna talk about tri-health, of course you don't. But, so
You need
you're
to
gonna
use the
put
microphone,
trees
ma'am.
there, but you know what, cars can go between the trees. You can build a path between trees to get to the parking lot. Children in Charter Oak and around there won't even allow their children on their bikes anymore because it's so dangerous with the traffic as it is. An additional 166 cars a day won't make it any safer. Put a wall, an 8-foot wall between Tri-Health and residential. This is just nothing but a scam.
Yes, ma'am.
Could Tri-Health,
Your name again?
Karen Shane, could Tri-Health use that parking lot and shuttle employees back and forth, like they do, like Mercy has done to different lots? That, you know, that would be the one
I
of
think
their
Carrie's
opportunities.
probably stated that comment already, that we've got an application and they've told us what they're going to do, we have to take that in good faith. And yes, you can speculate everything under the sun, I'm sure, and some of it has been speculation so far, but some of it is facts about what you truly believe, and we want to hear that. But, Carrie, is there, stipulation, if this theoretically gets approved, that we could say they cannot use it for parking from another facility? I don't know how that would be policed.
Well, we could always put those conditions on it, and policing is a different matter, but we could always put as many conditions on it as we want. You could say you can't use it Monday through Saturday, you can't, use it for tryouts, you can't do this, that, or the other thing. So, you know, I'm not saying what we're gonna do, but theoretically, we could put as many conditions on it, on it as we like, if hypothetically we'll approve it, I don't know. I don't get a sense of what the board's gonna do here yet. So, I think we've had everybody.
Well, as long as everybody's had a chance to speak their piece, I'd like to close the public comment one other time.
Yeah, just to clarify, if they were to use the
Sir,
parking lot
what is
for
your
a
Name first.
Richard Stradling, I live on Westover Circle, our house faces
Were you
the
sworn in, sir?
synagogue, I was sworn in,
Yeah,
What's your address?
6498 Westover Circle.
thank you.
And if the parking lot is used for both commercial use and the church, can it really be zoned as part of this conditional B zone, or does it become a commercial property? And if it's just to be for the church, can't that be one of your stipulations
Yes.
that you make?
Well, yes. and
That it can't be
earlier-
used for a commercial
Yeah,
use?
earlier I heard that really the church overflow parking was gonna use the
That's
triangle.
not the concern.
I understand that's not the concern, but that was their intention and what they were,
The connection's gone.
Okay,
The connection's gone, the sidewalks are gone.
all right.
I live behind Legacy Church. They don't even fill up the spaces they have. They don't need another parking lot.
Okay, very good.
I'd like to say one thing, and I've not been sworn in.
Okay. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
I'm Nancy Albrecht, and I live at 5080 Cooperville. I've lived there for 28 and a half years. And the one thing that we're talking about a church, I go to a landmark church, and they have things going on all day, every day, not just Sunday. We need to keep that in mind, that there would be a lot of traffic, there could be, soup kitchens, there could be, clothing, there could be, church, Saturday, Sunday. I know Baptist churches, they also meet on Wednesday nights. So, you know, we're sitting here thinking church, 1 or 2 services on Sunday, there could be the potential of a lot of activity throughout the day in the evening. And that adds a lot of traffic, and everyone's correct that there is already a lot of traffic issues with Cooper Mill and Montgomery Road. So I'd like you to consider that I'm against this. Thank you.
Does, Mr. Tepping get the last word or anything else to say?
I think everything is.
I think so, too.
Thank you for asking, Mr. Chair.
Time to close,
Okay, if that's the case, I'd like to close the public comment now that everyone's had a chance to share their thoughts. And I'd like to make that a serious close, even though I've given a lot of leniency through the process, and it's 10:30. Not that we want to rush through any judgment, but hopefully you've all had a chance to speak your comments. We've understood what your thoughts are. We've understood what the applicant needs. We understand what you've referenced and handed us in additional documents and the documents you sent us beforehand, so we really do appreciate that. So I close the public comment at this point. The board will now discuss the issues and we'll entertain a motion of some kind. Any initial thoughts?
where we start over there.
Well, I'll start just to help break the ice. I think even 1 or 2 of the folks who have opposed this new plan have even spoken that they see that the developers have, what should I say, jumped through all the hoops, gave us all the information that we need to have. It certainly fulfills the obligations of a conditional use of a church in a residential area, and they've, short of the parking concerns we had, and some of the lighting, the traffic concerns that we've had, and things that the county will decide, they have really given us a plan that's hard to beat in terms of our role in deciding if they've given us the proper agreements on all of the ordinances to match the things that they're going to build. So we have a hard time saying no to a group like that. And I think the consideration, as also was pointed out, comes to how we feel about the conditions that it places on the neighboring community. And the adverse effect, which has been commented on in many different ways, I can see where we would, if there would be an approval, we'd probably have to put some conditions on it, just kind of the things we've talked about, maybe even some additional buffer on the eastern side of that building that certainly affects your particular property. We can't control how the traffic situation is gonna work, the ingress and egress, and I respect your comments about traffic conditions. We aren't gonna be able to control the water runoff, although that I think was already even addressed in some document that we received, that it didn't seem to be a problem. So, on that hand, I think we have to understand that they met all the requirements that we asked for someone to do to get approval for a conditional use facility. And in my opinion, churches, schools, communities, homes are all part of the same process. Churches can bring benefits to the community that make people want to live around them as much as that we've seen throughout the community. I know people think there's a lot of church density, I guess someone commented on that in this area, but I don't know that for a fact. So it's kind of hard to make a judgment based on that, but those are some early thoughts I had. I'll make some others. Anybody comments?
I was just gonna say, from a clinical standpoint, I guess I would say I can't disagree with
there's always the residential aspect of. We've been through similar situations like this before. That's the reason I was asking the questions that I asked, to find out how much actual impingement on the neighbors this particular property would have. And it looks like, I mean, they've got plenty of room around them, which makes it difficult for me, but I can't help but feel for the neighbors having to possibly look at a site that might be detrimental. So I mean, that's what's swirling around in my head at this hour. I'm just really sorry that these guys didn't spend more time with the residents, paving the way for them, or we wouldn't be in this particular situation.
Well, and it's kind of hard to understand when you're looking at the property that's in question. I've heard probably from everybody that's spoken so far, reasons why you can't build a home on that site. People across the street are complaining about the lighting, so why would someone want to buy a home on that site? So I don't, and they had no overtures from any home builder, and there are many of them trying to build homes all over Montgomery and Kenwood, dying to have a half an acre somewhere, and there's certainly a lot of property there, but obviously nobody wants to live there.
Right.
Like I said, some people. Well, you just gave all the reasons why your homes were affected by all of the lighting behind it. Now we're talking about putting
There's
a
newer
home
homes
right behind
across
it.
the street in the $600,000 and $700,000 range.
Well, I
and
did
they're
close
selling.
I'm sharing this with my compatriots to make a decision, so I appreciate and respect that. If you would respect my time here doing the same.
Okay, I'm gonna respectfully disagree with the two of you. I think what we have here is well, it physically meets the requirements of the code. We just don't know what's going to be there. To me, there are too many unanswered questions. And what we're asking to be approved is something that may be a church. If they find a tenant, it may be a church. We're gonna work with it. All they have now is a building, a large parking lot, which might be a church, if they find a tenant, which we don't know they have. And the evidence was that, we don't know what the building's gonna look like when they do finish it. And how do we impose conditions, assuming we approved it, how do we know what kind of conditions we would impose when we don't know what's gonna be useful? We don't know if it's gonna be used 7 days a week, 5 days a week, we don't know if it's gonna be a church, or people said it's gonna be used for different things. So we have, to me, too many unknown factors in the equation to approve it. And the conditional use is, we allow properties in residential neighborhoods on the condition to put it in, to put it on the condition that it doesn't mess up the neighborhood too much. That's the underlying condition. Don't screw up the neighborhood by allowing this project. To me, the application is premature because we just don't have enough information, to me, to approve it, so.
Is this kind of a cart and a horse thing though? Because, you know, if they don't get the property approved, they can't market it for a church if they don't get it in church.
That's their problem.
That's their problem.
Please, this is our conversation.
Yeah. This is sort of a deal, if you build it, they will maybe come.
That works well across the street.
So, anyway, those are my thoughts, and let me just, make a motion. It seems like I don't know where Mr. Idle stands, but we're gonna have a problem if he decides me, because it'd be 2-2, because our fifth member's not here. But I'm gonna make the motion that we deny the, request.
I'm gonna second.
Now we have to ask
So
our,
please,
well, we're gonna have to
give us a minute here.
But we have to take a vote, and we have to ask the township attorney here, what do we do if there's a tie? My understanding is if there's a tie, that it goes down, right? Yeah, because we only have 4 members, we usually have 5. So we have a quorum, but if we don't have a majority, the resolution goes down. Am I correct in that? Okay, so now we take a vote. Right?
Unless there's any further discussion. Mr. Secretary, this is a vote to
Deny
deny the request
Deny the request for
for conditional use.
conditional use.
This is why he's sitting on the end. Mr. Sheedy?
I vote to deny the request.
That's a yes. That's a
Yes.
yes for denial.
That's a yes to deny it.
No,
Mr. Eichmann?
no.
Mr. Heidel?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz? Yes.
You voted yes to deny it?
Yes.
So we have 3 denials and 1 approval.
So it's to deny.
Thank you.
We know who to vote for in the future.
Now, I don't know what the comes next. Let's see what's next.
They wanted to see. No, they didn't approve
Still have a meeting in process here. So,
I'm Bob.
walk out.
I'm the neighbor.
Watch out here.
Date of our next meeting.
If it wasn't for them, I'd be the oldest person in the neighborhood. So they're never allowed to move.
You're on public record. Make no mistake.
The date of our next meeting is Monday, August 19th, 2019.
Congratulations. Our 2 cases are going to be lower and so we're going to have a long light talk to I assume. Double this, so
So, we have those 2 or the only 2? Okay. Right. Right. Okay, and, so Monday, August 19th, 6:30, the next item on the agenda is any communications or miscellaneous business to share? None at all? Okay, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I will second
Mr. Sheedy?
I said I entertain